So what's the telltale saying? There's nothing to fear but fear itself. When we fear what we don't understand. So I'm thinking to myself, hey, I'm gonna die, but hey, if I die, what's gonna happen? Even in the Muslim faith, they tell you, hey, if you blow up this building, there's 70 virgins gonna be lit and waiting for you.
All right, what's up, Black family? We want to touch base. This is Super Mike, and I had this conversation with the awesome brother BMT. It was an honor to be on this show. It was always an honor to speak with this brother. He's a very positive brother, and me and him have, we have natural differences, but I have the utmost of respect for brothers like that, and I enjoy having those type of conversations and those type of challenges. And also the other brother on there, his name was Doc. He has some very good concepts as well as Erica. And, very good environment, I think. It's a positive, always a positive conversation, even when you just vehemently disagree. There's still a level of respect within the disagreement that's brotherly and sisterly, and that I think should be encouraged. Anytime you're trying to get a understanding of somebody from a hostile source, you're making a big mistake, because you got to think about it. If you want to understand how those people think, you want to actually go to those people, see how they see themselves, and then of course you have the right to speak with other people who are outside that circle and see the perception of the outside world on those people, and then form a kind of blended opinion or blended conclusion. But you never just take but I can't go to your worst enemy asking them about you. Of course they're going to tell me all the worst things in the world. And then if I come to you based on the impression of your worst enemy, I'm going to come to you with a funky attitude, right? So these are the type of things we got to be careful of. So this source here tells us that the 72 virgins is somebody asked this, answered by Sheikh, and Sheikh is a studied authority in Islamic world. Okay, so they asked the Sheikh, I don't understand the reward of the 72 virgins in heaven, which is also called Jannah. How do I make sense of this? Is there actually any basis in Islam about it? How can I explain it to non-Muslims? You see, because this is a rumor that was started. It's not even in the Quran. The Quran is the highest authority in the Islamic world. So this is not in the Quran, which is looked at in the Islamic world as the literally words of Allah. This is the words of Allah spoken through the Prophet Muhammad. So this thing is coming from is basically a hearsay situation. This man said he heard the Prophet Muhammad say something, or something about this 72 virgin thing. And so you got to think about it. You don't know the context. You don't know what was being said, how this man overheard it. Nobody else verified this thing. Who was he talking? All these different questions. It's just like, this is how they did it,
So what's the telltale saying? There's nothing to fear but fear itself. When we fear what we don't understand. So I'm thinking to myself, hey, I'm gonna die, but hey, if I die, what's gonna happen? Even in the Muslim faith, they tell you, hey, if you blow up this building, there's 70 virgins gonna be lit and waiting for you. 70 virgins.
What is the place of jihad in Islam linking to this belief that once you die fighting jihad, you get 7 virgins?
A second question, what is the concept of jihad? And in jihad, if someone dies, he gets 7 women. Jihad in Arabic means to struggle, to strive. The most misunderstood word in Islam today is jihad. It's not only misunderstood among the non-Muslims, it's even misunderstood among the Muslims. Most of the Muslims and non-Muslims think any war fought by any Muslim for any reason is called as jihad. Jihad does not mean any war fought by any Muslim for any reason, whether it be for personal gain, whether it be for wealth, whether it be for land. Jihad means to strive and struggle. In Islamic context, jihad means to strive and struggle against one's own evil inclination. Jihad also means to strive and struggle to make the society better. Jihad also means to strive and struggle against oppression. Jihad also means to strive and struggle in the battlefield in self-defense. So jihad basically means to strive and struggle. Regarding your main question, that what does it mean that if you die in jihad, you get 7 brides or 7 women? There's nothing like if you die in jihad, you'll get. If you die, you go to Jannah. If you're striving and struggling for anything, what I'm doing also jihad. I'm striving and struggling to convey the message of Allah to the people. Even I'm doing jihad. What I'm doing, I'm struggling, I'm sweating. Coming all the way thousands of miles from India, trying to convey the message of Allah to you. I'm doing jihad. If Allah accepts my jihad, even I will go to Jannah, inshallah. If He accepts. If He accepts. Now, one of the ways that while you're struggling and fighting in the battlefield, and that time also you die, that time also you go to Jannah. It is not only while fighting.
Why you need pussy in the afterlife? That's the thing. I be always wondering that about
That's
Muslims.
not.
Why y'all
Y'all
need pussy in the afterlife?
misunderstanding.
So you only got
That's misunderstood. I mean,
I don't know. I read that verse plenty of
No,
times.
no. We're not talking about misunderstanding. The idea of it is the virgins represent the pleasure. That's not a misunderstanding. That's an exact quote.
That's why I said you're misunderstanding it.
Okay, what's the misunderstanding?
That.
What's the misunderstanding?
I just want. I'll get right to it. Let me explain that piece. Okay. I wanted to touch on some other stuff y'all had said too. But as far as the virgin thing, okay, any place where there is 72 virgins, you notice they always virgins there. It's not for you to go defile those people. It's just telling you that this is a place where women are safe. You see, that's heaven. See, heaven is somewhere where women. Okay, listen what I'm saying though.
You can say, wait, man, you ain't touched on that. You said virgins.
Why would you have to mention
virgins? We know what they're not being defiled. Everybody agrees with that. But what you're talking about virgins, what does that mean? You're not going to send virgins to another woman.
Virgins.
You're not going to send them to women.
Your children, your young girls are virgins.
What about the boys?
Are they virgins to women, to murder women? Are they saying to a woman when she goes out there and sacrifices herself?
What if I'm gay? Are there virgin boys in heaven? Like, what? I mean, how does it work?
Why is it always women that are?
I understand. But I'm just saying to you that you can over, you know what I'm saying, you can raise your voice at it, or you can at least give the person a chance to. I'm not saying for you to believe that. Listen, I can read it. I'm just telling you, this is how it's understood. You don't have to believe it, but this is how these people understand it. Okay,
but you I don't understand it like that. I understand for what the word says. 70 virgins. They're promising it to men. They're not promising it to women.
I know. I understand.
I don't know what women would want to be about. Like, what do they tell them? Like, there are 70 dicks in heaven. Like, how many dicks are there in heaven? Women, like when they die, like
I understand. I'm just telling y'all that's how it's understood. And I mean, I'm not expecting y'all to believe it. I'm just saying that's how let me tell you something about the witchcraft.
Would heaven be a slut walk?
Let me tell you something about the witchcraft and the rule.
See, if you listen to that, right? So you see, I kind of got overtalked, and I was not able to explain why and to show them why they were taking they were internalizing the way that the 72 virgin hadith was to be understood, right? But that was intentional because this whole 72 virgin thing is an intentional, it's an intentional propaganda. It's meant to. If you look at the stereotypes here, it's messing up the Arabs. You're supposed to hate all of the Arab peoples, and usually these people who do the suicide bombing. This is supposed to be this is coming from Western media here. This is in political magazine in 2015, and these people, they're very poor people. They're being bombed. Okay, they just went through a war with George Bush, and they don't have the money. Their parents and kids were killed and murdered by American bombs. Right? You got airplanes coming over. They were sitting up in houses. They had nice countries and things like that, and the whole building was bombed. Of course, you can't explain to these people anything. They don't have any money, so someone comes to them and gives them a bomb to strap onto themselves. And so these ideas that we are taught is just to make us hate and make it easier for us to hate those people. That's what this kind of propaganda is. So when you believe that thing straight up, the way that because it's taught to us in a nasty way. Even if you look at the way the Quran, if you get an English interpretation of the Quran that's not done by a Muslim, someone who actually believes in the book, then it's going to be very distorted. It's going to be very distorted because you're not understanding it the way that the people are supposed to. The righteous people, the people who actually believe in this stuff, you're not understanding it the way that they understand it. Or they, even if you don't believe something, at least you're supposed to give that person, you're wanting to actually understand what they're actually thinking instead of what you want to twist it as, right? So, my explanation is what the Minister Farrakhan taught us, because I'm in the Nation of Islam. We don't believe in life after death, that you're going to go some heaven somewhere after you die and get all these treats and trinkets and stuff like that. We don't believe that kind of stuff. Our heaven is here. And so I will play a description. I tried to find the actual lecture where Minister Farrakhan gave explanation of this particular hadith, but I will play a lecture where he gives a description of the hadith of heaven, where the Prophet Muhammad talks about heaven is at the foot of mother. Okay, and it ties into submission in men as well, so and women. So anyway, I'll play that, but the point is, this is just a big propaganda piece. The 72 virgin things. Notice how it changes. Some people say it's 7 virgins. Some people say it's 70. And some people say it's 72. Because it was all just made up. Most of it was made up. It comes from somewhere, a real hadith. But the hadith is weak. It's meaning it's not really confirmed. We stop. We are out of virgins. Okay. Dang, So one of the biggest is this one is published in March 2009, written by Nasheed Abdul Khalik. One of the biggest Israeli propaganda myth is the invention of the 72 virgins as a Muslim reward for suicide. This has been repeated to the Western world so often that most people accept it as fact. The media wants us to believe that there cannot be anything wrong with the Israelis, who must be seen as eternal victims, to cause anyone to commit suicide as a means of striking back at them. Heavens no. The motivation of suicide bombings in Israel has nothing to do with Jewish treatment of Palestinians. Instead, it has to do with the evilness of the Palestinians and their religious beliefs. This is the bill of goods that they want to sell the Western mind, while at the same time faking most, if not all, the Islamic suicide bombings to blame on Muslims.
So Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, heaven lies at the feet of mother.
Yes, sir.
Why at her feet? At her feet means obedience or submission to her. And of course, if heaven lies at her feet, then her head must be in the right place in order for heaven to be at her feet. Her head must be in the word of Allah, in obedience to Allah, in order for heaven to be at her feet. Because if heaven can be at her feet, hell can also be there too. He instilled in us as men the spirit to move out from our homes and control our environment. And wherever we can move and control the environment, we bring our women into that environment to help us with the management, the running, the planning for that thing. But the man must move out as the pioneer. He must be the one to cut down the underbrush and shoulder the weapon and kill the beasts.
All right.
And the savages, if he can't civilize them, and then set up an outpost and then bring his woman and say, yeah, you are secure here. Now let us go and plan for the compound, or plan for the education, or plan for the welfare of our family.
Go ahead.
But men have misused the thought of women being in their homes. And women now rebel against the home. So the men want to keep you there as a means of suppressing you, because they're not reaching out to control anything that might advance you in the society. So that's a form of oppression. Then the women, in order to reject oppression, they reject home life. They reject cooking as though that is some terrible thing. They reject sewing. They reject being a good mother. They reject being a good wife and taking care of a man. They don't understand that if there is no happiness in the home, there can be no happiness in the society. That happiness as well as peace must start in the home.
Yes, sir.
And there can be no peace in the home unless there is understanding between the male and the female, and not burdening each other with attacks on one another, when we should be working together for the common good of the whole.